I've been on fire.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Real Talk Vlogs with Jack and Steve, where two car guys just sit back, enjoy a cup of our herbal essence tea here, talk shit, shoot shit, and occasionally even bring a guest or two on the show, and they somehow stand to sit back and allow us to ask them the most ridiculous questions that we can think of. So,
Yo, we have an exciting guest this week, man. Not that there's anything against our engineering friends and our previous guests in the tuning and whatnot, but somebody that's done a lot of seat time and track time, along the same ilk of a different style. But our first guest, Austin, was a seat time kind of guy, and so we're going back to our original roots of good guest with another seat time fella. So.
this week's, should I just is this where I can just drop his name, or should we wait?
Nah, we'll get to that in a little bit. But
right.
How was your week, man?
Yo, my week was good, but before we get too far, let's give him some format issues, all right, here? Yo, on all of our uploads, guys, first off, you can find us every Friday on your ready at 12 p.m. midnight. I always screw this up. Is it technically 12 p.m.
Yo, just say 12:01 a.m.
Okay, 12
on Friday morning.
Friday morning, whether you're commuting to work, whether you're listening to it in the office while you're packing Amazon boxes, or you're, in some sweat factory in overseas. But it will be ready for your Friday something. Listening pleasure. All of our uploads, we always talk about, hey, what's going on? And Steve, you asked me what was going on. I asked you what was going on. I'm sorry, my week. I apologize. I'm a little hyped up. Yeah, I'm a little still going from earlier. I never slowed down yet.
Okay.
I don't know if you can.
You're not in relaxed Jack mode yet.
Yeah, I'm not chill. I haven't had enough of my troll.
Oh, okay.
I just need to get some sugar in me, calm down, woosah, get in that mode. But it's been a good week. Been driving a Porsche. It's been a lot of.
So essentially, let's hold up for a second. It's been 2 weeks.
Technically, yes.
Technically, it's been 2 weeks, and I think I should apologize for that. I had some scheduling conflicts with my 9 to 5, and so anyway, how was your last 2 weeks?
So my last 2 weeks. Well, I've been driving a 911 for 3 days now.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm gonna do a car review on that car because it's a cool car, but there's some BS. It's flat out BS on some designing errors. First off, you could lose 600 pounds. Get rid of the back seat. Screw it. Why do you need a back seat in the car? I don't know what the politically correct term is for people that are shorter than 4-year-old children, but Colton barely fits in the back seat.
Look, I'm not trying to downplay the diminutive stature of your child, but as a 5-year-old, he's tiny. And he's not a tiny 5-year-old, but as a human being who happens to be 5, it's a petite package still.
Yeah, but anything much more than 7 isn't gonna fit back there, dude. Judging,
wow.
Yeah, dude, you couldn't fit back there.
Yeah, I'm a little feller. I guess a daddy long legs going on.
Yo,
but I'm
okay.
not exactly wide hipped.
Maybe 2 of you could fit in there because your ass will scoot 4 foot closer to the steering wheel.
Okay, all right.
But there's no functional back seat unless the person driving and passenger and riding shotgun are short.
Yeah, let's be honest. More or less than a B5?
Less.
And how much more or less?
At least half.
Yeah, that's wild. That's wild, man.
It's bad. Wild. But I like your reference. That's great. Other than that, the car's great. Definitely think it would be a cooler car to drive as a manual, but I'll do my full review on it at the end of this week. I had to do an inspection on it, get some brake pads on it. It's got a light pull to the right, so shout out to Reed Van for saying drop it off and we'll get it in. Their cup of tea is Porsches, and I don't know, but being as it's a European thing, they probably get a conglomerate of a lot of shit. No different than, like, there's a shop up here of Bradley, and long story short, a lot of Audi stuff gets called over there, and they call me and say, hey, do you want to do this? Because their thing is BMW. They don't want to do other crap.
Yeah, that's legit though. Like if you're the niche Volkswagen Automotive Group guy and you know how to work on them, I know you know how to work on them. And there's a shop close by that is not their niche, and they trust you to work on their other stuff to keep their client base happy. Run with that. Build a professional relationship with your locals.
Anybody should. I mean, here, that's 101. If you're in a slow point in time and you own a lawn care company and you're having a hard time feeding, man, maybe go up to a bigger food chain and say, hey, you want a subcontract? Random Real Talk vlog saw it. But
yeah, we jumped real hard in RTV early.
Yeah.
But anyway.
What else? I don't think there's really anything else, like, new. There's things going on with the LSA. It's kind of somehow came together really quickly, and, like, it's interesting. I haven't put any videos up, no pictures up. Like, this is the first time on any sort of social content that I've mentioned that I've even worked on the motherfucker in the past 6 months.
Just to be clear, my cell phone does not count as a social. And I have heard some phone calls of some foul language. Bro, why am I doing that? What is this bullshit? And then there's been other phone calls of excitement, and I've kept my mouth shut. But I'm excited for you, bud.
Yo, dude, what's up with you?
So I got my semi-apology out of my scheduling conflict.
Yes.
But I'm coming off of a couple weeks where I was burning the candle at both ends in my day job to try to get things done, picking up skill sets, so that was cool. But exciting stuff. I got a shipping notification on some major parts for Project Snowball.
No.
I'm excited about that. Drivetrain related and mount related, and we're gonna bring the CRX into a little bit more of a modern era, and so it's gonna be fun.
Steve, what are you looking at?
I've been working through, not me working through, but Maryland Motorworks is working through. They've jumped into the red car. That is the one that is on the plate now, and he is going to town on it. And he's been asking very specific questions and getting history on the car. And so
I see
we
Heidi.
essentially arrived at a similar position as where some other shops have arrived at before. And he's asked very, very good questions. And so I think it's in good hands, and I'm excited to see how I'm excited, man. I'm just excited because all the project car stuff is going on, and
hey,
so
I gotta
it's been a good couple weeks. I'm glad to have got to a point where I can relax a little bit.
Dude, that's good.
Focus on some side hustle stuff.
Nice.
The other thing, I'm gonna have some new shirts up on the website because this logo we've discussed previously was flagged for my printful.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. I seen the other logo.
Made some super minor adjustments to the logo, and I've got a sample on the way. Should arrive here first part next week, and as long as the sample looks good in person, I'll throw the new logo up on all of our shirts. And I am awaiting a response from the governing body that issues trademarks before I can go back to using this logo.
So, two things. One, right now, what is in front of your eyeballs? Because it looks like you're staring at the top of the screen.
Oh, sorry. I've got essentially a not so great setup for our screen to be recording, because I've got my face in like a little side box, and then your face in a bigger box. But I've got a big monitor, and I'm too close to it, I guess. So sorry to all the people that are eyeballing the eyeballs, but I'm trying to pay attention to what's going on.
Okay.
My bad.
No, you're good. I was just trying to I didn't know. I was just.
Yo, so look, real talk vlog. I tried to put my camera up close to where I would be looking now.
Yeah.
And it looks like there's like a drone flying in my office, looking down on me, so it's not ideal.
Maybe we get a little mini tripod for you, so you can stick it half.
It's literally sitting on a mini tripod, 5 or 6 inches up from the bottom of the screen in the middle.
Try this. Can you move it to within the viewing square that you're looking at? Or at least in the
No.
Okay.
Because then you'll get all of my HVAC equipment in my basement. In the back.
Do you see what's in my background?
Yeah, well, that's fine.
You know,
Invest in white box fans, everybody. Jack is a white box fan hoarder. Invest in white box fans.
No.
But
hey, my unofficial, I'm not a professional. Real Talk Vlogs. Yo, you heard Bitcoin went ETF, right? It's official. Bitcoin ETFs are a thing.
I have to explain this to me because I built a road. I submitted a bid for a big highway, and then I got a paycheck. So,
ETF, short for Exchange Traded Funds.
Yes.
So, in short, a Bitcoin ETF is a way for people to invest in Bitcoin into trade funds at a 1-to-1 interchange, exchange rate between Bitcoin and you did the same thing I did. Check the clock. I
didn't realize we were an investing podcast, so
any rate.
I'm listening.
No, you're right. We're not an investing
it's one
podcast.
Of those things you can get super deep, super fast.
Long story.
Carry on, my wayward son.
The long and the short here is if you're not invested in crypto in some way, shape, or form, anybody who's not invested in crypto in some way, shape, or form is losing money daily.
Feeling great about myself right now.
I think everybody should in some way, shape, or form.
I mean, that's fair. Diversify your investments. That's good old fashioned Steve talking right there.
Yo, Corey and I were talking about that earlier. That very phrase, because he's a big ETH holder, tens of thousands of dollars, right? And he is gung ho on that one thing, and I'm like, no. I'm into all sorts of shit, but here, that's another day, another show.
Yeah, we should drop a little bit of an intro on our guest for today, and make sure that we're prepared to add him into our little call here.
Like a test session?
Yeah, I'm just saying that maybe we should explain to folks who's popping into our little world of podcast land here today.
Okay, so you guys, have you ever wanted to know how to start racing? Seriously. We see all these Gridlife drivers out there. We see these Road America drivers, these Time Attack, these E-Hook drivers. Even sim racing, right? A lot of those guys are
sim racing. Sorry to sidetrack. We have to come back to sim racing.
Well, he's a big sim racer.
Well, let's ask him about sim racing.
All right.
Have a little conversation then.
But not all of us get to the opportunity to drive these tracks. Most of us only drive them in video games. So
Gran Turismo's the best. Don't you argue with me.
Just whatever.
Carry on.
Whatever.
Gran Turismo.
But our special guest tonight, he has driven a lot of these tracks, and he has turned it into a career at a very, very young age. I believe he's like 24 years old, 23 years old. And here, he's not, to the best of my knowledge, here, if he's out there doing it, I don't know how he's doing it. And that's what he's here tonight. We're going to figure out how Steve can become a time attack driver in a B5 S4, and how I can escalate my drifting career to the next level. Because, well, I am building a race car.
Hashtag goals.
Hashtag inspire. Alright, well, I'm out of words and air. Do we want to give this boy a call? It's technically 3 minutes early. And see if he answers. Or can we jump to a short commercial break and I go get a...
We could always drop a short commercial break.
Short commercial break? We got 3 minutes. We're calling him.
Okay, alright.
Alright.
What are we commercializing?
Let's commercialize the fact that if you're into DIYs and you want to learn how to work on your Volkswagen, Audi, Porsche, Lamborghini, when a customer lets me work on one, RowdyAudi.com. Sorry, wrong one. Rowdy Audi at YouTube, where I build LSA race cars. We're fixing Volkswagens and Audis every day. I'm having an awful on-the-moment plug. Would you like to plug me?
I'm not sure that's the word. I don't know what this time around. But anyway, guys, Jack does some pretty cool DIY videos, how-tos on all sorts of Volkswagen, Audi, VAG, automotive-related products. And he does a good job. He does a good job explaining on steps you can take to maintain your own vehicle, save a little money, put it in your pocket, buy the parts, and do the job yourself. Learn from Jack. Go to Rowdy Audi on YouTube.
Yeah, I was expecting the announcer voice, but whatever.
All right, are you done eating your snacks?
No, I got 4 left.
Okay.
I'm calling him.
All right.
I think I figured it out.
You know, Raven has acquired the guest seating on the couch behind me.
Oh, has she? Oh, hi, Rave.
Raven the dog is a guest of the podcast at all times.
We need to get a Raven cam.
Yo. Nah. I love my dog, but she doesn't need to have all the special stuff on her own. Hey, Kal, can you hear us?
Mic check. 1, 2. Oh, there he is.
He's live on the camera.
What up, dude? Can you hear us? You're muted.
Oh, no.
Ah! There we go.
There we go. Okay.
Yo, nice fish tank. What do you got in there?
So we got an Oscar in there, and then just like 1 angelfish.
Oh, that's cool.
It's like a grow out tank for them.
That's
at least
cool.
for the Oscar, because like the Oscar's gonna get massive eventually.
Dude, I remember when I was a kid, we had a freaking this big old dumb long one at the
really?
zoo, the zoo in the town that I lived in. The
Yeah.
thing was huge.
Dude, like you get them when they're like so tiny, and everyone thinks that they're not gonna get massive, and then like eventually you're just left with this fish that's like a foot long, and you're like, what do I do with it?
Right. That's too funny. Well, we already kind of broke our guests in, letting them know kind of who we were having on, but we didn't tell them who. So, sir, if who would love to introduce himself and tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of stuff, but I'm Kal Fortner. Right now I'm racing an Audi S4 in time attack with Gridlife. And we might be doing a lot more cooler stuff next season, too. Actually, we will be. So, basically, to start this out, we're going to be racing the S4 next year still.
Okay.
But we have a couple other cars that are kind of getting added to the program, if that makes sense.
Are you going to be...
Yeah, this is a popular theme with our guests. So they're like, they pop on and they have a cool car already, but wait, there's more.
I mean, well, it's also that time of year, too. Like, because the season's over, it's all about, planning stuff for next year and everything.
Facts.
So one of the things is pretty tentative, but I am going to be driving in GLTC next year with Gridlife too.
Okay.
The car is still up in the air, but it's most likely going to be like an arrive and drive situation where someone kind of builds the car and then I go there and race in GLTC. So it's like something I'll be doing alongside the time attack.
So they're like.
Can you explain GLTC for some of our folks that may not be?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Speed on that.
So Gridlife, I think it was 2 years ago now. They went ahead and pretty much built the most accessible, in my opinion, wheel series, other than like Lemons or like the endurance racing, where like you build like a very, very, very shitty car and just run it. So this is like the most accessible, legitimate racing series you can possibly do.
I love your analogy of him.
Yeah, it is good. It is good. I've been to some Lemons races, and they're great fun in terms of spirit and whatnot. But not everybody there is there to race their car necessarily.
Yeah.
And I feel with the Gridlife stuff that's not necessarily the case.
I mean, like, I've heard stories from Lemons races of guys just getting repeatedly black flagged because they'll just have stuff falling off of their cars and they'll just be like, nope, I'm just gonna keep going.
Yeah,
That's
it's
fun,
fun, man. It's a lot of fun. But
Yeah, and I definitely want to try it someday though, because I mean, it looks like it's a blast. I mean, how could you not like just ripping around a piece of shit for hours? I mean, that'd be so cool.
Sure.
I never realized that Lemons is a series. So when you like, I never realized. I thought the 24 Hours of Lemons was one race until this year. Like I was this
Really?
this year's old when I realized that
I
Lemons
realized
was
that,
a
like, 3
series.
years ago, but yeah, I was the same way at first. I thought it was just one event and they would just do one race and that's it.
Right.
And I found out they able to actually travel like from track to track. Like they'll go to multiple different like venues and do this. Like legitimate tracks too.
Well,
Yeah, I've been spoiled by being close to. I live close to Summit Point Raceway in West Virginia. They have a couple different tracks there, and they come, I guess once a year or every other year, and they have most racetracks people can camp at, and that is a very fun event to camp at.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
question, jumping back to Gridlife. How many stops does Gridlife actually have total in a circuit?
Oh man,
Would it be considered a circuit?
So the next schedule is tentative still, like they haven't really announced it yet, so I can't say much about that. But for this season, I think it was like about 8 rounds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's getting pretty big. I had to skip the first round of the season because I was in the NCM track. I don't know if you know about that track, but they have some very strict noise restrictions. And
your car isn't
like heard the Audi, but it's incredibly loud. So that was an instant no-go for that event.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't think it was that loud. It's loud, but
yeah,
what's their noise restriction? Like, I mean, what is your car? 110 decibel, 120?
I think it's like 100 at idle.
Really?
Wow.
I don't. Okay, so I just recently bought a sound decibel meter because we were doing things at Race
Like,
Wars.
don't quote me on that, but it's pretty loud.
Yeah, I might mail it to you just so we can find out.
Like Adam Jabay, our race director, I actually hurt his ears the first time that like I watched that car in front of him. He didn't realize how loud it was because it's like the new setup for the year, and it was a track day picnic, like this little event that we do where it's not even competition; it's just like a literal fun event that Gridlife does.
Nice.
And we were doing like a standing start, like time trial thing around Blackmount Farms Raceway, and I launched it and it made his ears ring.
Yo, that's a
Nice.
I felt bad.
Accidents
But, I mean,
happen.
It's race cars. I mean, they got to be loud, right?
Yeah, loud means powerful, right?
Yeah,
More-
exactly.
Yeah.
Or it just means more obnoxious, more cool. One
So-
or the other.
So give us a I guess the specs or a rundown of the car. You obviously said a B7 S4, but what is the setup? Obviously,
So-
full done aero suspension.
Yeah. So the car is built to the street mod class at Gridlife. So Gridlife has a time attack series, and there's different classes of modification. So street mod is essentially the most you could possibly do with a car that's still registered for the street. So
Okay.
for the class rules, you have to keep in any interior components that don't require to be moved because of safety equipment. So like if you have a rear cage or any sort of cage, you can remove the equipment where that cage goes to. But other than that, you have to retain all of the stock interior components. And then with the aero rules, you can't have a splitter that's more than 5 inches from the front of the car, and you can't have a diffuser that reaches more than 5 inches. And it also gets kind of sketchy with things like side skirts. So you can have side skirts, and technically you can have a flat floor that's not completely flat. That's where the gray area kind of comes in.
Okay.
So you can extend your side skirts as far as you want into the center of the car, as long as there's a gap in between.
Oh, for like between the.
Floor, but you can still have a flat floor if that makes sense. Just like as really big side skirts.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like.
Yeah.
So essentially, you have slept inside the rule book and found some gaps where you could.
Oh yeah.
Hey, no,
Okay,
that's how you go
not the only one
fast.
that does this. There's a lot of guys that are running these not flat floors now.
Right.
Okay.
Hey.
And then, as far as the wing rules go, we just can't extend them further than the stock mirrors, and they can't be higher than the roof height.
So that does give you a good amount of flexibility.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah,
I feel like that.
Or
It's
enough wing to be functional for sure.
Yeah, the thing is, the rules are strict enough to where it makes things interesting. Like, you don't just see a bunch of insane cars that, like, don't belong on the street. But it's
Okay.
also, like, loose enough to where you can see some really cool stuff and cool innovations with cars.
So let me ask you: do you see anybody like do? I mean, I'm assuming with that much wing and that much square footage of like area for downforce, do you see any active aero setups out there?
We're actually not allowed to have active aero.
Oh,
That'll shoot us straight to unlimited, I believe.
okay.
That's good though. I mean,
But
it's designed to keep the class kind of a level playing field.
But are you able
Yeah,
to have
yeah.
adjustable aero though?
Yeah, you really kind of have to have adjustable aero to be competitive. The thing with Street Mod is it's honestly one of the most competitive time attack classes in the country. Like, it's really ridiculous. The level of builds that go into it, and the caliber drivers too. Like,
Okay.
you really don't see a whole lot else like it. Like, across the board, like, everyone's insanely fast. Like, you have classes like Unlimited, where there'll be really, really, really fast cars. Like, those are the fastest cars in the event. But there's not a whole lot of cars that are, like, competing together, if that makes sense. And the same with Track Mod. The only other classes that are relatable is, like, Street Mod, or not Street Class and Street GT. But those classes are for cars that are essentially just street cars. Like, there's no aero allowed, there's very minimal power mods allowed. So, like, it's a lot easier to build a car for that class.
Okay.
So I think Street Mod is kind of like that last class where you can still get away with bolt-ons and have a really fast car also.
Nice. I feel like that's where I'd end up if I jumped down that rabbit hole.
One of the things,
I
Steve.
have to get an interior and put it back in my car though. That's
No.
You
only.
have the back half of the interior gutted though.
So okay.
So I have in my regular I literally have every bit of the interior from the B pillar forward, and there is absolutely nothing from the B pillar.
Yo,
back.
calm down.
Yeah,
Like,
that would be alright then.
How legitimate?
Nice.
Oh, really? Really? Like, it's
you can
not.
have the back half of the interior gutted as long as there's some sort of safety above back there. So if you have like a rear cage, like a partial cage in the car, you can gut that portion of the car. Now, you can
yeah.
that for the front half because you still have to have like most of your front half of the interior in there. Like, you have to kind of make room for the cages.
Uh-huh.
So, like, they would prefer you to cut out your door cards instead of completely removing them. Same with like your windows and stuff. Like, they would prefer you to keep those in there.
So,
Whereas
definitely
it
not
kinda
able to.
keeps it- It's like a road-based class.
That's awesome, man. I like the more grassroots focused stuff that people can build something and compete in without having to go out and mortgage their house or whatever to do it or have so many sponsors that it's a full-time job to fulfill the requirements.
And like the really cool thing about Gridlife is, in my opinion, I think it's like the biggest stage for a grassroots driver to compete on. Everyone thinks that grassroots racing is just like showing up to a track and like just kind of racing with your friends. Nobody's actually watching. There's no sponsors, no like media attention or anything like that. And I think it's really crazy to see what Gridlife has become, where there's like legitimate spectator interest in grassroots racing, like people that have just built these cars, and it's getting like hundreds of thousands of views and like hundreds of thousands of spectators, like going to these events, watching just grassroots racing. Like, there's nothing else like it.
No. This year was my first.
that.
When I met you, Cal, for all of our viewers, Cal and I met at Gridlife, Pikes Peak International Raceway,
Oh yeah, that was a fun event.
Dude, it was the first one I had ever been to. Never been to one. It was one of those things. I was like, I'm tired. I want to go do something. I don't want to miss anything else. And I was like, I'm going. Let's go, right? And brought a few friends on board. They came with me. You know, that is a whole nother scene. Whenever, it's like the only way to explain Gridlife, in my opinion, to people who haven't gone or are an enthusiast who wants to go. It's like a Forza Horizon 4. Like, they took the video game and said, okay, let's put all this cool stuff in one spot. We're going to jump trucks. We're going to drift. We're going to be doing drifting, time attack. Like, they had... Did you see the guys over on the other side that had... they were doing, like, overlanding shit in Jeeps?
Yeah.
Dude!
That event had everything.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing else like it. It's like Forza. That's the best way to
Yeah!
describe
It sounds like I need to fill out my permission slip for the adult field trip for next year.
it. I think that's a solid idea.
You know what? Here, you met Austin, right?
Yeah.
I mean, well, duh. I'm sorry. That man was telling me flat out. He was like, you're doing it wrong, Jack. Because I'm building my car, and I was like, I want to build it to pro spec drift rules, right? Like the book. Solely for the reason of I can take it anywhere I want, and it should pass a tech. This dude tells me, he's like, dude, you're doing it wrong. Just get it going and just take it to as many grassroots events as you possibly can. He's like, at a pro level, your expense and your overhead is it's ridiculous. He's like, you might pay $5,000 to do an event and like tires, gas. I'm putting it all together, and not get anything. You might not place anything.
Yeah.
The payout, even for like first place in some cases, top 32, I think it was like $400 or something like that, right? And he was comparing it to going to like a grassroots level drifting event where you go to clutch kickers and payouts. It's $10,000 for first place. I say all this because even though these are grass level roots events, you do this full time. This is your job. You are a professional race car driver. Am I not? Or do you do something else?
So, basically, I do this as a form of marketing for our business. So, like, me and my family own a business called Al's Auto Body.
Okay.
Like the big monster on the side of the car. And
Yes.
I started doing Gridlife about 6 years ago now. And it was not as big as what it is now. Like, not by
Really?
any means. It was still, like, a big event. Don't get me wrong. But I didn't foresee it becoming this big. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't something where I was like, okay, this is just going to be something where you mention Gridlife to somebody who's into cars, but not necessarily into time attack or drifting. And they're like, oh, yeah, I know what that is. Like, I never realized it would become something like that. And the amount of attention that this, like, series and these events and even just this car build has, like, gotten our shop is insane. So,
That's awesome. That's awesome, though, man.
yeah, I wouldn't say that, like, I am a full-time, like, professional race car driver, but I would say that, like, this is part of my job to market the business and to really push what we can do as a shop and also showcase, like, the brand and everything. So, like, the marketing aspect is what my job is.
So
Okay.
take 30 seconds now and tell us about Al's Auto Body.
Oh, Al's Auto Body is the best. All right, I do have to plug that a little bit.
Go for
We
it.
literally do everything. Like, literally everything. So, like, the main bread and butter, obviously, is collision work. Like, we do a lot of collision work. But we've also worked on everything from, like, top fuel dragsters, like funny cars.
Yo.
Obviously, time attack builds. Like, we currently have, I think, 5 or 6 Gridlife cars in our shop right
Oh,
now.
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, so we love, like, supporting, like, the grassroots community, too. Because I feel like that's really important, is, like, just keeping this community alive and growing the drivers and making sure that they have a trustworthy shop to take their cars to that isn't going to rip them off because they're tracking their car.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. Where are you guys based out of?
So we're located in St. John, Indiana. It's, like, the northwest Indiana, Chicagoland region.
Okay.
Oh, you're close. You and I are close to each other. I did say Ohio, but he's closer than Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah, hey, you should little whisper in here. There's a really cool drag racing event that is open, mid-September every year. S4 Race Wars. It's in Ohio.
Yeah, I did want to.
I'm just teasing.
So Jack's obviously a drifter, and you time attack. I saw the clip on Instagram of you following somebody in a drift car.
Oh
with the
yeah.
camera mounted to the front of your car.
We had some fun with TJ Hunt at the last event.
Yep.
That was really
fun.
We were paddocked next to each other for like the entire weekend, and I came up with the idea of doing some like drift chasing with him because like. For one, he didn't really have anybody to chase him, and I noticed how he was like recording a whole video for the event. And I was like, dude, like I have a time attack car, like I can keep up with your drift car, like let's shoot.
It's like you were fast.
Was his car around? Like I was not his, but as somebody that's has not obviously looked at statistics on drifting, they make a lot of drift cars make a lot of power and still carry a lot of speed. So
Yeah,
was it difficult for?
As far as drift cars go, like they make a ton of power, and you'd be surprised the amount of grip that a drift car gets in a drift. You think that like drifting is like all sliding and stuff, but like
right.
Those cars are like it's like a dance of like grip and slip at the same time. So like yeah, when you're drifting a corner, you're not taking it as fast as what you would if you weren't drifting it. Like grip is still the fastest way, but you'd be surprised the amount of speed that they can carry, especially if they are going for like a speed style corner.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
like,
right
the
on.
that they take isn't nearly as fast as like the cornering speed that we do in time to. So it was a pretty simple thing to do.
Okay.
It's still difficult to chase someone drifting. Like it was still kind of hectic.
Yeah.
But it was fun.
Yeah.
Sure.
Or the difficulty in gauging the speed, coming out of a corner or whatever. Not keeping up, but making sure that you're not approaching up on them too fast, or
Yeah,
things going around the track in a completely different fashion.
I was hovering the gas and the brake the entire, like when I race, like if your car is like a dual clutch or a paddle shifter or sequential, you should always left foot brake on track. At least in my opinion. I think it's way better for reaction time and staying smooth. Once you figure out like that left foot braking, I know it feels weird at first for a lot of people because. I mean, I don't know if you guys have done this before, but like if you do it for the first time, you tap your brake with your left foot, and you just kind of like jolt forward a little bit.
Yeah.
You're not used to that. You know what? I gotta finish this TJ Hunt story, but we'll get to that.
Okay, fair enough.
I totally forgot about the other half of the story. So basically, he was like, "Are they gonna let us do that?" And I was like, "Dude, like it's Gingerman. Gingerman's a track where you can literally do whatever you want at it. It's like the best track in the world in that aspect. Like,
Really?
Yeah." The Gridlife events at Gingerman are so open and so free that, like, as long as you know what you're doing, you can essentially do what you want at those events. Like, we literally did a driver challenge. It has the funniest name. It's called Just the Tip Cut because this giant awesome. That's the trophy. But they let a bunch of drivers, including myself, get into a Honda Fit to see who was the fastest, and we literally swapped out from lap to lap. So that's like the extent of just the craziest shit you can do on the track. So when TJ Hunt was like, are they gonna allow us to do this? I'm like, dude, it's Gingerman. Like, we can do whatever we want. Like, just go do it. And it was during like a grip and drift session too. So they mixed like the grip cars and the drift cars.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah. So you guys were already out there together, anyways.
Yeah. So I'm like, dude, like, especially with that, like, we can do anything. And he's like, well, you should still go ask anyway, just to make sure. And I'm like, okay, to make you feel better, I'll go ask. Like, it's okay. And then when I went
Mr. Hunt,
like, a rule follower.
Mr. Hunt is a rule follower. Seriously.
It's like made me look stupid. Or he was like, why are you asking me that? Like, go do it. I'm like, okay.
Oh man, that's awesome, man.
Yo, so at the end of the day, everything you learned from that event, do you think you could market better commercials for your channel? Was that money well spent at that track day, chasing that car and learning those driving experience?
Oh yeah.
Question though.
Okay.
We've dabbled in drifting a little bit. Before we get too far down and away from Gridlife things, because I know we can talk about, here, Steve wants to talk about the supercharger, this aero, suspension. We've got lots of things. You got in the car with Austin. Mr. AZ Euros Austin. From my understanding, that was your first experience in an Audi drift car.
Yes, it was.
Let's get a reaction, because no one, like I was telling Steve, I haven't heard, like, I'm curious. What was that experience like?
So, the thing with that car is it would do all the things that you would not expect an Audi to do. Like,
yeah.
You look at an Audi, you're like, all-wheel drive, like, it's going to grip. And it didn't grip. Like, I mean, you get that sense of grip when you're drifting, but it's not the same. And there's like certain points where we would literally get that car like completely sideways, facing the wall. Like I was staring spectators like in the face. And then it would just whip back around, and we would just continue going in the same direction. Like it was the weirdest feeling ever. Like that car would literally get completely sideways and then straight back out.
Facts. Yo, that having all that weight out on the front, way out front on the it rotates. The car will rotate around it really quickly.
It just kind of like does its thing.
Yeah, I was surprised to see, because I drift a C5 A6.
Okay. I used to own a C5 A6 actually.
So I don't know if you've ever had one kick out on you, even
In the snow I have.
Yeah, it's lazy back there. It's really lazy. And so have you ever been in a Cressida?
I don't think I have.
Or like a JZX 100, JZX 90.
Yeah, I've actually never been in one of those cars.
All right. Yo, we're gonna have to get you into more drift cars.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get you into more drift cars.
That's Jack's face.
I mean, drifting is in the plans, like down the road. Like I do want to get a drift car eventually.
Yeah. What's your favorite Gridlife track? Sorry,
This is kind of a tough question because my favorite Gridlife track for the longest time was Road Atlanta, but Gridlife doesn't go back there anymore. He stopped doing that event like 2 years ago now at this point. And that was like my all-time favorite track. So I would say now at this point it's probably Road America, and then with a close second being Gingerman, just because Gingerman is like just that home track feeling, if that makes sense.
Okay. So if you were going to go to Gingerman in Gridlife and take a drift car there, what would it be and what driveline would you have in it?
Ooh. Okay. Let me think for a second on this one. I feel like my dream drift car would be a V8 Audi that is rear-wheel drive swapped. Because I've always wanted to turn like my B7, maybe not that specific car because I don't think I want to change that car, but get a B7 A4 and turn that into a drift car. I think that would be so cool.
That would be cool.
Or a BRZ with an Audi 4.2 liter swap.
Yo, that would be cool too. That would be super cool. Well, and you've seen Tweetler's intake, the supercharged intake that they've got out now, right?
Yeah.
That they're R&D in.
Mm-hmm.
Matching. Speaking of which, we were talking about you with Tweetler. Like, we need to put you guys in the same room together somehow. Bug, you run a super. Have you already told us what your breakdown on your car?
Not completely.
Okay, I don't want to get too far ahead.
Yeah, basically, the engine's built by RS Performance. They're located out of Indianapolis. We're running a lower compression setup than the factory, so it's like shortened rods and everything. Okay. And we have a Vortex supercharger setup on it. So like the bracket itself is made by JHM. And like I got nothing bad to say about the company, but like they didn't really help with the build process, so we kind of like did our own thing with it.
They gave you parts with no instructions?
What'd you say?
I said they gave you parts with no instructions.
Something along those lines, yeah. And then took ages to get the parts, even though they said everything was in stock initially. But yeah, it was rough.
Yeah, I've ordered stuff like that. I hate that.
Yeah. So basically, we had Jacko Motorsports tune the car, and they've been awesome like throughout this entire process. Jacko's literally the best when it comes to the 4.2. Like, I couldn't ask for more with them. And we're running a lot more pulley setup with this too, because we have to throw more boost with the lower compression setup. So the car's making around 500 wheel at this point. And the goal is to make a little more than that, but we're gonna have to do the manual swap to get that, because the auto's kind of struggling with this power now at this point, especially in like high G corners and stuff like that. So when we get the manual set up, we're most likely going to upgrade the supercharger, because we're kind of upping the spin rate on this one. Like, you can't handle more boost and more spin.
Yeah.
So
what are
like 600 wheel around.
I was gonna ask. I was like, how many RPMs are you guys turning at? What trim is that Vortec?
Whichever one came with the JHM kit. I know we're running about 12 pounds of boost right now.
Okay.
Which isn't like insane, but it's also like a lot more than like what this kit was intended to do. So the supercharger, at least on this setup, can't run more than 15. We tried 15 and it just overspins, and then when you're running that small setup, you get a lot of that slip.
Okay, so I'm not knocking your setup or anything, but coming back now to Tweetler, we need to get you guys in the room. After hearing what your new power goals are and what you're shooting for, dude, Reed told us flat out, the thing stock, the guesstimate is 700, it breaks. And
Really?
they've got a kit to bolt on a 2652 root style blower to that. And it's designed specifically for long endurance races. The temperature of the heat exchanger will never surpass the ambient air temperature. Like, they've designed it to have more cooling capacity than what you would need. Hey, if you're going to spend some more money, I'm just recommending this is something you might want to consider, or at least...
We might have to get in talks with them, because that sounds very intriguing.
Yeah. I was just going to say I was going to send them a link to the video for that, or we can put a card in here, anywhere in here for the viewers who are listening who want to know more about that.
So you said you had been doing Gridlife for about 6 years. Have you been running the B7 the whole time? Or have you had other platforms? So it's been the B7 the whole time?
I've literally been running that car for as long as I've been doing Gridlife.
Wow.
That I haven't gotten in different cars along the way. Like last year when the car was still being built with this power setup, I was running an Audi S4 for like about half of the season.
Okay.
And then my friend Dewey's BRZ, I ran it at one event in Colorado like last year, which I have to say, the BRZ, you'd be surprised how fun that car is. Like, I did not expect that car to be nearly as fun as what it was. Because I mean,
very
they have
balanced.
no power, but you don't need the power with that car. If there's
They're designed for around driver engagement. Like,
yeah,
from the
it
get-go,
was
they
the
were
most
designed around driver
most
engagement.
fun cars I've ever driven, and it had no power. Like, you can't have more with that. It was just so much fun.
You know what that reminds me of?
What?
An 1986 Honda CRX on the downhill.
Yeah.
Yo, I drove a 86 Rex from Missouri to Virginia, and the most fun I had in that thing was flat out fourth gear downhill through the Virginia mountains.
Oh, that
Just
sounds awesome.
don't hit the brakes, don't lift, just go. That thing would. I don't understand how it did it. It would.
Uphill though. Uphill.
It'll be rough for sure.
Yeah.
You know.
We won't talk about uphill. Just sit back and
So
cruise.
I'm actually honestly a little surprised to hear that you're running automatic. I spent a long time playing with automatics and B5s, and our guest next week has the record for the fastest B5 automatic B5, quarter mile wise. But
You'll have to tune in next week for that one.
Work with XD and stuff. What have you done in terms of trans mods? Any at all, or just better fluid?
The transmission is actually tuned as well.
Okay.
For starters, the red line is 73 now instead of like the stock, which was like 7,000 ish.
Okay.
How much more power did you see from that?
Like the line pressure on it, so we can actually like increase the pressure the clutches are at, so it doesn't slip with the more torque.
Mm-hmm.
So that did help for the longest time. But at this point, I think the transmission is just getting worn out.
It's tired.
Yeah, and the entire idea with like sticking with the auto was that better shift time, especially like on a track setup. You want to look at it two ways. The shift times are better, but there's also an argument for keeping both your hands on the wheel at all times and having all of that focus just being on the driving and not worrying about like clutching and shifting. Because like I love driving manuals. Like my daily is a STI. Like I love manuals. But I think as far as like a track application goes, maybe not even a track application, just a time attack application. If you can get an auto to work, that's your best option for the lap time. But if you're doing like track days and stuff, get a manual because it's more fun.
Yeah, it's more fun. Yeah, I'm in the process of tuning a car that's been swapped. So I've gone from the 5 HP 19, which is obviously an earlier version of the tip that's in your car, but to an 01E, but I broke all sorts of random stuff at not small amounts of power, but I wasn't exactly pushing the limits of the 2.7 by any means.
Yeah.
And anyway, I swapped. It's not a big deal. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any are you gonna just go with a stock S4 manual from a B7? Or are you thinking about what are you gonna use for it? Like I have a B6 S4 in the garage transmission. You want it? Sell it to
Legitimately,
you.
I'm actually not sure what direction we're going in yet.
Okay.
Okay.
We have to kind of figure out what can hold the power levels that we want, but we also have to think about the aspect of, I feel like everything would need to be retuned, right? Because we have all this tuning on what is essentially an automatic EC.
Yeah.
I feel like yes and no. Like I could see where the motor's being tuned to lose X amount because of loss and driving all that extra crap behind the train. But at the same time, I don't feel like it would really matter that much.
Any Jackal should be able to reflash your Tiptronic, like the ECU that you run in your Tiptronic car now. He should be able to reprogram it to run with a manual car, because essentially you're limiting the amount of input that the ECU is receiving, because the manual isn't telling the automatic isn't telling the ECU anything. It's just in a gear.
Well, yeah, but that's basic. I don't think there's anything as far a power management sake that it matters between an automatic and a manual, really.
No, power management, no. But what he's saying about the tune, I mean, obviously, the ECU just needs to be told that
but the
it's not automatic anymore.
Right. I mean,
you know what though? If anybody can figure that out, it's probably Jackal. So.
Oh.
Yeah, legit. I mean, that's what I'm saying. If you have good experience with your tuner, I would not be surprised at all if he's already dealt with that situation. Already. So.
So this kind of brings us into the next idea with the S4 too. So I was talking about how a manual is more fun versus an automatic. So the S4, it's still gonna be in some time attack competition settings, because ST suspension is giving us a full competition two-way suspension. So we want to showcase what that on that car.
Okay, nice.
That's cool.
The end game for that car is turning it into a grip taxi.
Oh, that would be dope. That would be dope.
You know how Forsberg's car has bucket seats in the back?
Yeah.
I want to do that with that car and show people what it's like to be in a time attack car like that.
That would be cool.
That would be legit.
Because nobody really gets the opportunity to ride in time attack cars for the most part. It's always the drift cars. And some people can ride in the faster time attack car, but you usually have to be friends with them. In this case, I literally just want to give people rides in the time attack car and show them what it's like to take corners like that. Because it's totally different than riding in a drift car.
Oh, I wonder what it's like from the back seat to the front seat.
Yeah,
drifting in the back. Get in the back seat of a drift car. Get in the back seat. It is the weirdest freaking thing. I can only imagine what a grip car would be like.
So we talk about obviously a grip taxi, but do you utilize any kind of data acquisition? Do you know what kind of lateral G's the car's pulling, or
you have to be reading my mind.
People, you go to the theme park and they're like, hey, if you have a heart condition, you might not want to do this. That's something you're going to slap on the passenger side window.
On the data, I've seen about 1.5 Gs.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's that's 0.4 of a G more than the Elise.
That's going down the...
It is peaks, but it's kind of insane what this car can do, especially for what it is.
For sure, man.
The crazy thing is, too, this thing isn't even one of the best cornering cars in time attack. There's cars that corner insanely good in street mod. So I think that puts into perspective, how fast this specific class is becoming.
What kind of range of so just give us examples of other platforms that you're competing against within street mod.
So the top cars right now, one of them is a GC8 Impreza, which has 650 something horsepower. It's
wow.
The car is called Boogeyman, and it's insanely fast. Then you have an Evo, which is also insane. I think it's an Evo 8, but don't quote me on that because I'm not really up to speed on my evolution numbers. And then there's also a dual clutch swap S2000, but that car hasn't been like too competitive this year. They've been at the top in podiums and stuff like that, but
Trying to source
it's
a
a
job.
pick out car still. Last year they were running a manual and they tried to see if they could make it faster with the auto, but it's tough to make it work.
Yeah.
And then the Supra that just has no trouble winning at a lot of events. I don't know if you guys know who Jackie Ding is, but he runs the new A90 Supra.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the one.
His car is just built to the max of what that car can be. Like around 600 wheel, stock internals, just has like a new intake manifold, bigger turbo and everything. Same transmission, like same auto, and the car just works. It really does.
That's sick.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, that's like, track days. You gotta show up and finish the race most of the time, and a lot of people don't do that. But if you're working with a newer platform and it has the kind of aftermarket development that platform has, I don't want to take anything away from the guy. I don't know him, but I would imagine it's less stressful or there's less involved to work on a platform that is essentially a year old, a year and a half old, 2 years
about
old.
like 2 years I think now, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he's pulled any rusty bolts.
Yeah, exactly. And
So-
like, the biggest props that I have to give him though is, in my opinion, that car is the most to the spirit of the rules of that class than any other car in Street Mod right now, like mine included. He still has AC in that thing, and he's winning events with that car.
That's awesome.
The next fastest guy I would say is the Evo. And that car is really crazy, and he'll beat Jackie at certain events.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, like that thing's a race car. It's a race car that can be driven on the street. Jackie's car, you would be comfortable driving that car for like a few hours on a public road and not have a problem.
Yeah, mad respect to that for sure.
Do you think the S3 would be? Do you think an RS3 would be competitive in the same class, better than your S4 is?
Yes. So the S4 isn't really the most optimal car for this class. The whole idea with that car is to kind of maximize what that car can do in this class.
So
So it's still like it's an upper mid pack car.
what
Okay.
if somebody was to enter into that class? And here we're focusing our audience. We're focusing at as Volkswagen Audi enthusiasts out there in the
Yeah.
world. What do you think would be the ideal class if somebody was coming up in grassroots and trying to get started at your level? Like, what cars would you recommend for a Volkswagen Audi owner?
For Volkswagen Audi, I would say the RS3s are definitely something that would be very competitive. It would take a bit of work, if that makes sense. Like, the car, it's a good platform to start out with,
Okay.
but like certain shortcomings, like the fact that you can't really adjust front camber right away, it makes it difficult, especially handling-wise. Because that chassis is the same chassis as the S3. So I've kind of had some experience like racing that car also.
Plus,
and
it's expensive. Like,
it's a very sloppy car on track as far as the handling goes.
Really?
So you really have to. Yeah. You'd be surprised how much oversteer you can get with those cars.
huh? I never drove one, so I don't really have a perspective. I missed my shot of driving an S3 for like a week, but
They're amazing cars. Don't get me wrong. Like I really love those things, but to make an RS3 win, let's just say win. That'd be the simplest way to put it.
or
You would
turn.
have to, RS3 get at least 600 wheel horsepower, like at least, and make the handling work. So you would need the proper aero. You need that front camber adjustment. Maybe even upgrade the rear suspension. Either way, like you would have to really modify that car to make it to work in street.
So it sounds like you're at least $60,000 to $70,000 in a track prepped RS3. Am I kind of wrong?
All day.
Yeah. So
Easily.
let's get down to real life budgets here, because my pocketbook does not write a $70,000 check tonight.
Yeah.
What could somebody practically, and I'm not saying necessarily win, but
So
driver mod's a real thing. If you've got
it
freaking
really is.
equipment that works 70% of the time as good as everyone else, you know? Like, what?
The most accessible time attack class is actually called Sunday Cup. So it's all about having very low-powered cars that handle, and that's it. Like, the most common car in that class is a Honda Fit.
Yo, time out. You want to talk about badass Honda Fits for 20 seconds? You ever heard of the Tail of the Dragon?
I've never been there. I have to go, though.
Yo, April, I'll see you then.
April 6th through 10th, Boogies in the Woods.
Yes, we'll be trap sighting. Yeah, we'll send you the details. It's in your neck of there is a Honda Fit. Killboy drives a Honda Fit around the tail on proxies and suspension, light aero. And I've seen that thing rip through there, running away from like lines of vets and other like just stupid stuff. You're like, what the?
First off, that car's set up for that road.
Yeah,
and that
he lives there
every day.
So like,
but that car's fast.
Honda Fit can do. Nobody realizes what that car can do. Like it's really insane. I got to drive one for the first time, like this fall actually. I drove it at Gridlife. That was the whole Just the Tip Cup we were doing. We're all driving a Honda Fit.
Nice.
That's cool.
You'd be surprised how much grip those cars can get in the corner. Like, it's mind-boggling. It really is.
Well, that and the wheelbase, it's all spread out.
Go ahead, Jack.
I was just saying the wheelbase is really spread out on it, right? They're very similar to a Mini. If memory serves me, I haven't looked it up, but
the wheels are like pushed to the corners.
Yeah.
Like so my brother's got a early 92 Integra GSR double wishbone suspension. Yeah, that car handles good. Were the Fit still the double A arm, or were they like the RSXs with the cheaper version, or don't you know?
I'm actually not sure.
That's cool.
He said he didn't have to order.
The Honda Fit as far as modifying one. However, sprinting, I'll be doing one lap of America. You guys know that event, right?
Yeah.
America. So I'm gonna be doing that event in a Honda Fit.
Yo, do you need a right seater?
So I have a right seater, but we're gonna be racing a bunch of other Sunday Cup cars. Like, we're kind of creating our own individual Sunday Cup class for one lap of America.
That's super cool.
And it's gonna be the most comfortable, most fun one lap of America ever.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Are you sitting in?
The Sunday Cup, is that a throwback to Gran Turismo?
I believe so, yes. But
okay.
It's not Sunday, like D-A-Y, it's D-A-E, so, you know, it can't be...
Oh, okay, I got you, nice.
It's got to answer the legal issues a little bit.
That's cool, man.
I believe it's, like, a derivative of Gran Turismo.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Steve knows all about having to dance around the legal issues, ain't that right?
Oh, my God.
Dude, Printful? Yeah. Is that your sim? I know you're into sim racing, so...
Yep, I'm actually sitting in the sim right now.
What kind of, like, school me here? What do you do? What particular class? Corsa? Do you have your car in Forza Horizon 4?
Yes, I do.
Oh, I love you. Fist bumps. I got mine too.
Yes, so, the main, like, sims that I do is, like, so Corsa, Competizione, iRacing, and then, obviously, I do Forza because Forza's awesome.
Yes.
And then I also have Gran Turismo on my PlayStation because I grew up playing Gran Turismo. Gran Turismo actually got me into racing for the most part. Like,
you know,
like what got that going for me. Actually, you guys remember the GT Academy they used to do?
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
I got very high up in the standings for that, but I couldn't do it because I was like 16 at the time.
Do you remember when PlayStation did that thing where they did the driver challenge on the video game and won a seat in a car?
That's what he's talking about.
Oh, okay, same prop. My bad.
So, like, I got very high up, like, in the lap times for that. And I think if I would have, like, set, like, a little bit faster of a time, I would have actually qualified, like, for the next stage, like, in person. But I was too young at the time. Like, I was only, like, 15 or 16, so they wouldn't allow me to do it.
Dude, I know in the go-kart leagues that I have done, it is so humbling as a man in my 30s that has done a lot of seat time in a lot of cars, to have a 13-year-old or a 12-year-old or a 9-year-old in a go-kart just be like, bye, old man.
Bro, stop,
You know?
stop,
like, so,
stop.
So going to like iRacing and such, a lot of the kids that were in the leagues that I ran with, when COVID hit, and everybody's like, oh, shut everything down. They went straight to the iRacing or whatever brands they went to, and it's amazing. It's amazing how competitive that shit is.
Oh yeah, I was doing Gridlife iRacers last night actually. Gridlife does an iRacing league.
Really?
Like broadcasted on the official Gridlife channel on YouTube and everything. Like full commentary. Like the same guys that do the commentary for GLTC and Time Attack in real life, they do it for the virtual stuff too.
I did not know that.
It's against like a bunch of Gridlife drivers too, like including the select pro drivers that we have also, which is really cool.
Oh, that's cool. So can I get in? Is what I'm getting. That's cool. That's cool. Hold on. Steve, stop. When you're talking about go-kart racing, 13-year-olds and 7-year-olds, they got 100 pounds on you. In go-karting world, that's fast.
Yo, time out. My svelte ass is 147 pounds. All right.
Colton weighs a whopping 32 pounds.
Okay, you're right.
All right.
Yo, it's worse though when you're in the adult league kart that has like 22 horsepower, and they're in the junior league kart that has 8.
Well, I guess knowing's half the problem.
That's what it is, man. I'm a professional amateur, all right?
Kal, from racing in the sim world and racing in the, I guess we call it grassroots. Would it be grassroots professional? Is semi-pro the wrong word? Like, what is? I don't want to be.
It's not for you, to be honest. Because that's kind of the direction that it's going in. Yes, it's still grassroots, but it's accessible. Don't get me wrong, but it's not something that's like easy to be competitive in anymore. At least, like before, it was something where you could build something on a pretty low budget and not be the best driver either, and still kind of get by and be competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, like, we're some of the best. I don't like to talk about like myself like that, but just across the board, Gridlife is some of the best drivers that I've ever seen. Like, as far as skill level, their ability to just like turn out lap times, like, and even like in the GLT field, we have like a couple guys that are actually like legitimate, successful professional drivers. One of them is Tom O'Gorman. He actually won like the Brother World Challenge championship.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then we got Brian Highcotter, who raced the car, like the GT car. And he's raced the GLT. Like, we have legitimate pros that are racing in Gridlife, which it's still insane to think about.
I mean, it's kind of humbling too, though. At least in my opinion, I would think like you get to go and race. Like these guys they race professionally, and they want to come down here and not necessarily like educate, but like they want more seat time. Like we're all after the same thing. We want to get in our cars and just drive. Just let us be. Let us drive.
And the fact that like Chris Forsberg has a GLTC team is still just insane to me. I mean, it's a full-on professional team.
Yep.
Yeah, they're racing in what was like a full-on grassroots series. In my opinion, it still is grassroots, but it's kind of dancing that fine line of like not being as grassroots as what it used to be.
Would you?
That's related, but that Spec Miata, that's how it used to be. Guys used to show up with their Miatas and then run Spec Miata, and then not many seasons in, guys were showing up with their Miata and somebody else's Miata to help them be a team, and it went from this like everybody can race to you have to have full funding despite the fact that you're still a Miata. And like I hope that the time attack stuff that you're doing doesn't go that direction, but knowing that when you show up to a track day and every track day is going to be very competitive, that's got to be really rewarding for sure.
Oh yeah, because you know that you're racing some of the best drivers. Like it is really impressive, like just the clever driver. But the cool thing too, like you still do this without the intention of winning podiums. Like in my case, like we're building a car because we just love building this car. And it's not something where like you, but you would build it just for that piece. You can still actually go into it with a car that either would be very competitive and just go into it just for the sense of being competitive. So like if you don't intend on like getting wins and getting podiums, you can do this like on a very low budget and still have fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's goals right there. I'm not obviously or not obviously, but I would be the guy that came to participate because I'm trying to get, like Jack said, I'm trying to get seat time. I'm trying to use the car that I've got built, and if that's an option for a low cost seat time event, I'm in. And I know a lot of people like myself that would also be in.
So I'm not dogging your theory over there, Steve, but I listened to my buddy Austin, and when he said you're kind of fucking up thinking about going directly after like a pro-am, but you can build the car and go after it. From a drifting perspective, if I'm out to have fun, I want to sit down, I want to sit in my seat, I want to drive it, I want to enjoy it, but at the same time, the cost is so expensive. Why not give it your all? And dude, if I'm gonna sit here and do it, I want to do the best I can and be as competitive doing it as I can. Because here, $10,000, if you go to Clutch Kickers and you win Clutch Kickers and you get $10,000 check, that's a whole lot better drive home. Knowing that your operating costs for the weekend and everything was covered. Yeah, you busted your ass to do it, but you did it. I don't know.
I get both sides of it too. Because like, the thing about racing at this level, like none of us are doing this, you know what I mean? Like we don't get paid enough by sponsors to literally be like, okay, this is my only job.
No, it's a loss most of the time.
Very difficult to do that at any level. So in my opinion, if you're not having fun, then there's no reason to do it. Because like there are certain guys we don't notice, like they get a little too frustrated about this. They take it too seriously. At the end of the day, like if you're not enjoying it, then why do it?
Facts. Would you say that would be probably some good advice for like this kind of stop me, cut, edit, leading into a great question. What advice would you have for young drivers, enthusiasts who want to come up? What would you do? Like just this
for young drivers,
inspiring drivers.
Yes.
Sorry.
For young drivers and guys who just want to get into it, I cannot emphasize enough how much sim racing helped me. It instantly gave me a leg up on like everyone else that was new to driving, like new to track driving. Because like I already had all like the basic fundamentals in my. Yeah, I've never driven on a real track before, like when I first started. But I had an idea of how everything worked. I knew about flag rules. I knew like how to operate a car. I knew how to catch a slide. Like all the basic stuff was already there, so it made that learning curve a lot less steep.
Yeah.
Other than that, I would really figure out what your intentions are. If you intend on going into this and winning right away, first of all, that's impossible for anybody. No matter what your budget is, you can't go into any of this and think you're going to win instantly. You can't just throw money at a car and think it's going to work. You have to literally put in that time, put in that effort to actually develop it. And not just develop it to be a fast car, but something that's effective for your driving style. And another thing, too, is modding things to your skill level. That's one of the biggest things that I emphasize to people that ask me, like, well, what do you want me to do, like, to build a time attack car? I want to build a time attack car, but, like, what should I do? And I let them know, first of all, pick something that you're either passionate about, because you can be passionate about a car and build that to be the best it can possibly be, which is what we did with the S4. Or you can pick a platform that you think is competitive to a certain rule set that you want to compete in. Either of those is a good way to go forward. Like, there's no wrong answer when it comes to that. After you decide that, you got to get track days in, and you got to literally get your skill up, and mod the car according to what you're ready for. Like, I would not recommend 50 tires right away. I would not recommend adding aero right away. I wouldn't recommend adding power right away. The biggest things to do is just suspension and brakes. That's it. Maybe not even suspension. Literally just upgrade your brakes, make your car safe, and then get that skill level up. And then start modifying the car.
Yeah, learn to drive a slow car fast, and then make the slow car faster.
Exactly.
I love it.
Right.
How much?
So,
How much comparison would you say for those younger drivers here? Let's just be honest. Budget is not in. When I say younger, my 15-year-old son who sleeps right there, he learned to drive a manual at 13. Like,
Awesome.
my 4-year-old, we had him driving a Power Wheels at 18 months. So I'm young crowd here. How would you compare video games, sim racing, driving characteristics, even down to, I'm sure you would agree that understanding the equipment that you're driving, because even if you're not doing the modifications, somebody has to. Like those inputs, the feedback the car is getting. Like, how do you compare sim racing and just digital racing? I'm screwing the word up here, I'm sorry. How do you compare video games to real life? Let's try it that way.
Unless you have a full motion rig, which I don't recommend one of those because it's incredibly expensive and there's no point.
Okay.
You're going to get that, like, seat of the pants feel. If you're ever going to feel the G-forces of, like, the car moving underneath you.
Yeah, but force feedback steering wheels, I hear, are really good.
Oh, yeah. Those are great. So, the best thing to describe it as is you're really getting that hand-eye coordination. You're creating muscle memory. So it's not something to where you can be like, okay, I drove like a Corvette on the sim, I'll know how to drive a Corvette in real life. It's not the sort of thing when it comes to that. But learning how to like fly, learning the specific movements of like what to do, especially learning track you've done the sim, that helps tremendously.
That's what I was very curious about that. Like comparing the fact that you've drove Road America, compare it to Gran Turismo or Cressida or iRacing. Like, how comparable are these tracks?
It's very comparable.
Really?
One thing I can tell you is, for the tracks that I race on that are on Sims, I practice for hours before the events. Like weeks even. Like I'll just repeatedly do laps on that track to get that rhythm down. Even if I know the track, because like I know Road America very well, I know Road Atlanta very well. Like it's still good to practice, get that muscle memory, and just get that rhythm in your head. Because then it's like second nature to you when you actually go on the track. Yeah. Like you recognize everything and you know the brakings, you know where to turn it. All that stuff is just you don't have to think about. Because the second you start thinking on track is when you mess up. Like, you want stuff to be second nature to yourself.
Nice. I would agree there.
Fair.
Very fair. Very
Right
fair.
on.
Yo, so, we have a segment. Steve?
Are you ready for trivia, sir?
Okay. I'm excited for that.
We have had several guests on, and our trivia guests are guests who have played trivia, which is all of them, including yourself now.
Well, not yet.
Nobody's broken 500.
Really?
Nobody. I provide the answers.
I mean,
You know, it's a multiple choice here.
yeah.
It's easy sauce.
It's easy.
Okay.
So each question's worth 100 points.
There's no points total. It's,
Oh, well, you just said 500, so I was playing on your punt. I thought you added a scoring system.
No, better rules, man.
Oh.
You guys could have made it sound like it was way more intricate than what it actually was.
Yeah, we're trying to scare you. We got to get you all built up for like that.
Okay.
Get them all hyped up. So,
Right.
I'm assuming that obviously you talk about iRacing and how familiar you are with tracks. I'm hoping that this will translate into trivia success.
Okay.
Alright, so here we go.
Yo, hold on. Intermission real quick. I think we should add a point system to this because we always
We can't change the rules midway.
Yo, we
We've
can-
asked 5 questions.
No, we can go back and rescore from the old episodes and add
all right,
track points
all
and then
right,
do our
okay.
scoreboard. Hey, would you be interested in putting your car on a drag? Would you unload your car out onto the street for a draggy session to go on a leaderboard?
Do it for a roller? Yes. Actually, now that I think about it, if I have the manual in, I would do that. That
Bet.
would be okay.
That'll be a future upload. We'll get you back on when we get our draggy. It's not down here. Draggies are in house. We're gonna do a draggy leaderboard.
Okay.
We're gonna have a leaderboard. So at some point we'll have all of our guests, and then there'll be a combined score of their trivia and their car's performance. So you know.
Yeah.
All right, so I know you talked about driving in Gridlife and their time attack, but what year was World Time Attack founded? And these are multiple choice.
Ooh, okay.
So,
Multiple choice is gonna help with this one.
yeah, what year was World Time Attack founded? 2010, 2001, 1993, or 1976?
I am going to say 2010.
You are correct. You have got
Wow.
1 of 5 correct.
Nice.
I kind of even remember a little bit when they first started that. And I had to kind of think back a little bit on like when I started hearing stuff about it. So that wasn't a total guess.
Dude, I was honestly, when I started looking up trivia about time attack and that kind of stuff, I was a little surprised that it was as late as it was.
I thought it was a
You know,
mid-90s thing, to be honest.
Right, I totally would have put it mid-90s, late 80s, that kind of time frame, but I'm glad to see it's grown as much as it has. Obviously, multiple governing bodies have taken it on, but I'm glad to see it grow as much as it has in the short time, that we've had. So,
It's really crazy how fast growing it is. Like when you think.
all right. So you have run at Road America, correct?
Yep.
Right. All right. When was Road America built? 1954, 1950, 1994, or 1981?
I'm gonna say 1954.
All right. So
Is that your
that's
final
wrong.
answer?
Oh!
It was built in 1950.
Oh,
The Road America Racing Association was established in 1954. It was a privately owned track for the first several years of its life. So,
that's a rough one.
yeah.
So,
We
for,
bring the heat.
yeah, hey.
Hey, at least I have follow-up details to go.
Yeah,
you
so
know,
you
the
got
wrong
that.
answer. I can educate a little bit. All right. At Buttonwillow is 2.68 miles. It is 40 foot wide for the duration of the track. How many turns are at Buttonwillow? 18, 21, 27, or 12?
See, this is tough because I've never driven there, and I'm going there this November, so I should really know this.
You should have already had
You
sim
want the answers
training
again?
in this.
It's not on a sim. That's the tough part. It's like
Really? Yo, that's weird. Hey, somebody needs to get on that.
Yeah.
Send an email.
Yeah. I'll talk to Forza.
Yeah, let's talk to upper management.
I'm gonna say 27. 27 was one of them, right?
27 was one of the answers. It's not correct, unfortunately.
Man.
The correct answer is 21.
Yo.
Buttonwillow has 21 turns in 2.68 miles.
All right, I'm going to give him this question, though, because he was asking a question and you followed up with an answer.
What
Yeah,
do you mean?
if I rewind the tape, he asked the question. He was like, is 27 one of the answers? And then you told him he was wrong. He asked a question. You got two
Oh.
right, sir. I'm defending you.
Okay. Well, you get the jack point.
That's a loophole, but I'll take that.
You got a slimy lawyer, sir.
Anyway, so like it kind of builds on that.
It's all right. It depends on how you're going around. You might have found an extra 6 turns.
Yeah.
We're gonna come back to a chassis you're familiar with, the B7 Audi B7 chassis,
Okay.
and we're gonna ask something very specific. And you don't have an RS4, you have an S4,
Yep, it's an S4.
but you're familiar with RS4, right?
Yes.
Worked on him a
Alright.
couple times?
Wait, what'd you say?
You've worked on him before, right?
Yeah, I've driven one too, actually.
Awesome.
Nice.
Automatic or
Yeah.
manual?
Manual.
Manual. Continue.
No, he wants one. He dreams. And
Oh, I want
get
one.
it.
I really do.
understand.
It's
I
got
want
a
one
great
so
ass.
bad.
Like
I'm
the,
not gonna lie, it was kind of underwhelming.
Really?
Yeah.
It was one of those things where you never want to meet your heroes.
It was nice, but yeah, it was kind of like one of those don't meet your heroes situations. Like, well, because the S4 was already kind of built up at the time. It was NA, but like it was a really high horsepower NA build.
Okay.
And it was one of those things where it's like, okay, like my S4 is about at this level.
Yeah, I can get that.
Yeah, I expected more, I guess.
fair
I
enough.
understand.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So the trivia related to the B7 RS4. At what RPM does a stock B7 RS4 make peak torque? Again, at what RPM does a stock B7 RS4 make peak torque? 3,500 RPM, 4,100 RPM, 5,500 RPM, or 8,250 RPM?
See, I know it's a high revving engine.
Peak
But-
torque. Again, 3,500, 4,100, 5,500, or 8,250.
I'm gonna say 55.
Final answer?
Yeah, I'll go with that.
He's gonna go with final answer 5,500. Is incorrect, sir.
Oh, damn.
What was the
I'm
answer?
just up on this trivia right now.
It's alright, it's alright. We bring the hard questions.
Oh, I appreciate that though.
You know, you gotta elevate the enthusiasts that suffer through our listening.
Yo, on a
Alright.
side note, you didn't have the answer on my sheet.
Oh. I'm sorry, Jack. I'm sorry.
I'm just giving you trouble.
Forgive me, sir. It's not 5,500. It's 4,100 RPM.
Oh shit.
No,
Yeah, I knew it could have been 8,000, but like it's kind of surprising that they work that low, but it's like that high of a revving V8.
They make torque even lower than that, and so like the B7 S4 makes, I think its peak number was like 3,100.
Yeah.
With just the cam profile is a little bit different. The B7 it like slowly creeps up, but it's still, you know, per the dyno graph anyway, it's got a pretty fat torque curve.
Yeah.
you ever
Alright.
drove a B6? The B6
Wait, what?
S4. You've drove a B6 S4, right?
I haven't driven a B6, but I do know it's like essentially the same car.
I was gonna ask you about your thoughts on comparison because I've never drove a B7 S4, and that is, I want one. I think they look aesthetically, they're appealing in every way.
It's just an aesthetic. As far as like the car itself goes, it's pretty much the same.
And I've been told that, I've heard that, but I want to experience because I drive a stock B6 S daily.
Yeah.
Curiosity. Continue. My prodigal son.
All right, you have one chance to redeem yourself. You know, and we appreciate your suffering through our trivia.
All right,
You
we'll see.
got one chance to redeem yourself a little bit. How many corners are reported to be at the tail of the dragon near Deals Gap in North Carolina? The road consists of 11 miles and a large number of turns. 112, 318, 420, or 354?
Repeat that again real quick.
How many corners are reported to be at the tail of the dragon near Deals Gap in North Carolina? The road consists of 11 miles. Are there 112 turns, 318 turns, 420 turns, or 354 turns?
Let's go with 354. Again, I have no clue on this because I've never been.
It's fair. It's fair. We've mentioned it previously on the podcast, but we'll let it
Oh
slide.
no!
It is 318 corners.
I knew it was in the 300.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. We won't throw you under the
Dude.
bus. Trivia is all in good fun, man.
You
Yeah.
will have an absolute blast. Like, it's a the thing though about this road, like that road is a humbling road. Like
Oh,
it's one of those you go into it and you drive, like you can be the best driver in the world, but like you gotta learn it. Like it's not, you can't just put your foot down and go. You know how this works. Like it's
Yeah,
like any new track.
yeah.
You damn well better take your first run in slow motion.
I fully plan on doing that. I mean, I had to do that somewhat because we drove up Pikes Peak this past summer. Actually, I took that sport
So
up.
good.
That was so much fun. Like it was so crazy, like how much power you lose at altitude. Also.
Yeah, dude. I drove up Pikes Peak in my '03 Yukon, right?
No, I have not been to the peak. We went, look, on June 1st of this year, which most of the world considers summer. You know, we were told we couldn't go past like 6, 8. It was one of those stops. I think it was 11,000 feet. So like, we had another 6,000 foot to go, and they're like, nah, it's 9 inches of snow at the top.
Yeah, they did that. They did that like this summer. They did that. I didn't get to drive all the way up because it was snowing at the top.
Yeah.
Really?
It was.
So I went
So
up
Jack's
in
the only one of us that's been to the peak.
I went up there in July, and at Gridlife, like the day before, and beautiful. I blew bags of chips.
This Gridlife was in July. Yeah, I did in July.
Yeah, they didn't let you go up all the way?
No, this was not the final day. It was on like later on Sunday though.
Yeah, Sunday. Well, we did get a bunch of rain though too. Like we got a lot of rain that weekend.
It was snow at the time. Early in the day on Sunday, and they got to the peak. And then when we went, it started raining. It was like cold rain. And then we got like halfway up, and they said it was snow.
Yeah, that's real. So when I was up there, Thursday, Friday, I drove out to Colorado like Wednesday something. But when I was up there, there was these like the cold front started coming in. It's the craziest thing having the clouds just like capture you into. No, it's fun.
Yeah, I have Mount Washington is on my list of to-dos. That's on the East Coast, so a little closer for me. Yeah, I live in Virginia, but I want to go there. But after going to Pikes Peak and going to Pikes Middle, anyway, the tall mountains they're definitely cool for sure.
Normally we let our guests go after we hit them with the trivia, but I just realized there was 2 questions here we never touched on, and I gotta ask if it's all right.
Yeah.
All right. Acceleration versus top speed in a competitive setup. Do you change your gear ratios often? Have you considered it? Is it something that you're able to do? Do you use LSDs?
We are allowed to do that. I have personally done that, and I know that the majority of my competitors don't.
Would you like an LSD?
There's not like a whole lot of like incentive. That time attack is industry, because if you have a proper working transmission, it'll be good on the vast majority of the tracks that we go to.
Okay. Because it's meant more for street application.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Do you run LSDs or lockers or?
So funny you should ask. The car actually needs one.
Yo, here, can I just go ahead and drop the Traction Concepts plug? I have already worked out the perfect track setup for them, and your diff and my diff are very similar.
Okay.
I offer a build-a-diff service that you can order on rowdyaudi.com if you're interested.
That's a good plug right there.
It's facts, though. Thank you.
It is. So we're for bookies this upcoming spring, August 6th through 10th. Our campsites are already booked, along with a service shed and house.
Also, cooking establishment.
Arriving with the factory diff in my B5, and I will be leaving with the Traction Concepts diff that Jack will build and bring with him, and then we'll swap them and do a before and after comparison, and essentially the gnarliest test track for that kind of application.
So with that said, if you would like, you can ship me a diff and I will bring it to whatever racetrack you need and install it for you for the simple arrangements of someplace to sleep.
We might have to figure something out with that.
Not a problem. All my parts are everything that I set. Traction Concepts is local, so like it's U.S. based. It's made here, so it's a phone call away from getting or whatever we need.
It's possible to get, right?
I'm sorry.
I said that's good because it's impossible to get anything right now.
Oh.
Not.
Facts. Big facts. All right, sir. Well, it has been a pleasure having you on. I'd love to have you on more in the future after you get 2022 season commenced.
For sure.
Where can you got 30 seconds to tell the viewers, listeners, where you at, where you're like, plug yourself and Andy's Auto. Sorry,
my main sponsor and like my company is Al's Auto Body. So like we really work to push that brand at Gridlife and at all these events that we do. And next year actually for the Gridlife season, I can't give away like a whole lot about the schedule that we're doing. But there's going to be a good amount of East Coast events. So anybody in the East Coast area that hasn't been to a Gridlife event, you guys can go check it out, which will be sick because we love engaging new people in this series.
Absolutely.
You can follow me on Instagram. It's at Kal Fortner, KalFortner. I'm actually going to be posting a lot about the new builds and stuff too that we're doing. I do have to say we're doing a new build for next year alongside this S4. And sadly, it's not going to be an Audi. I'm an Audi fan at heart, but we have to do something that's going to be a car that can win also, and something that we're also passionate about. So, growing up, I've always been a fan of the AMG GTS. I think it's one of the most beautiful cars ever made. And we are making it possible to do one of those cars in time.
Oh.
So,
That'll be sick.
Yo, that's exciting.
For Gridlife Street Mod next season.
That's...
And you have to
Repeat what you just said, because this might cut you off.
Okay, you want me to say it again?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're doing an AMG GTS for Gridlife next year. That's going to be the main time attack car. Now, the whole idea with that build is, if you look at like competitive time attack cars, they all have a large amount of money put into it. But this car, it'll be something where you can do a relatively light build as far as the engine goes, because the engine will handle a lot of power right away, and we can focus on handling an aero and do light power mods to get you around 6 horsepower, which won't be an issue with that car. And at the end of the day, it would actually cost the same amount, if not less, than doing an all-out build on like an Evo or an S2000 or something.
Well, and that comes back to what I was talking about earlier. Like, how do you budget? Like, is a GTI is a GTI a good chassis for somebody who wanted to do entry level? It's not a lot of money. You can buy one for $1,500. Excuse me. You can buy one for $1,500, spend $2,000-$3,000 in suspension and braking components and a seat, and see how good or bad. Like, you can have some basic safety here and some decent suspension, and go at it and see where you need to do. Or, you know, like.
Actually, I have a friend that is racing a GTI. His name is Carson Crystal, and that car is insane. It really is. It's an all-out GTI build, and it's really impressive what those cars can do. Also,
R32s.
Picking a car that you're passionate about is one of the biggest things to do first. And let's say you just love a GTI and you want to see what that car can do. Just build it and have fun with it.
Take that as a pro tip.
Oh yeah.
Real talk vlog, Jack.
Yeah, that is a real talk vlog. I have 3 of the exact same car. I have 3 C5 A6s. I have the 2.7 rear-wheel drive one, the LSA one, and then a V8 one.
Well, you know what? If you want, I can help you out and we can get going and that goes with those.
Yo, so the V8 one's getting a manual swap right now, so we might be able to discuss something.
Yeah, I think I would enjoy seeing a A6 out in time attack. That'd be kind of cool.
There is an image. Okay, so in my phone, I will post it up here. So when you watch this after the fact, there is a time attack A6 I've seen like this picture. I think's Metatag from 2005. Right? It's super old. Biggest wang I have ever seen. Do you know how wide a C5 is? Once it's got like, that's a big. They're big cars.
Yeah, they're massive.
I would be very interested. You could talk me into that.
Okay.
Maybe we'll have to trade some services. I'll send you a transmission or something.
That could be great. Well, talk.
Oh, absolutely. All right, my dude.
We appreciate your time, Cal. And,
No problem.
Best of luck in your upcoming build next year.
For sure.
Thanks again.
We will catch up with you on the flip.
Later.
Awesome. All right. See you guys.
Later. Hey. So now it's just us.
That was good.
Yeah, that was good, man, dude. Kal Fortner, dude, he is a cool cat. Like, that is the most time I met him at Gridlife. We exchanged some conversations, chit-chat a little bit about the car, but, like, dude, he's a cool dude. He's very down-to-earth, very humble about, like, what is capable by the basic man. You know?
Yeah. I think what he's doing is real cool, and I'm excited to see the schedule. I know you didn't mention much about it, but talking about East Coast events, that's got me excited. Anything's a day away.
Yeah, for you especially. I didn't realize how close he was.
What's it? Indiana?
Yeah, like
what?
4 hours. 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours.
I would say, I guess it depends on the part of the state. Indiana's pretty, long.
Yeah, it's 2/3 as long as Illinois.
Yeah, but I was mad surprised to hear that he runs a automatic in the B7 still.
Oh,
I guess I shouldn't have assumed that he didn't, but I did. You know, obviously I ran automatic crap for a long time. Not crap for a long. I played in automatics, B5s for a while. You know, so and our guest next week is still playing Tiptronic B5s. So
in a 20-year-old car.
Yeah, I'm loving it though, man.
Bro, it's so cool though because it's using there's 20 years of evolution of technology there and experience. And that is what I'm most curious about for our next upcoming guest.
Yeah, next week, William Robb of B5 S4 community, maybe fame, we'll say fame.
Within community at least, fame.
Mr. Automatic B5 S4 guy himself will be on with us to discuss all things old chassis and self-shifting. So
if maybe we can talk him out of the secret saucy sauce formula of how to keep your transmission together.
Dude, we'll get into more next week, so y'all just check in with us in 2 Fridays to follow. This Friday, this podcast will be updating, and y'all will have some great listening material for the forthcoming. I don't know how this works when you promote your own podcast at the end of your podcast.
You just tell our listeners that, hey, guys, don't forget, if you're not subscribed already, make sure to subscribe to the podcast in whatever media fashion you are listening to this on, whether it's Spotify, Apple Cast, I haven't figured them all out yet, or if you're listening to us right now live on YouTube on the Afterplay, guys, make sure you smash the subscribe button. We go live every Friday, 12:01 a.m. for your enjoyment at work, on the road, or sitting in the shower with a glass of wine and bubble baths.
And as every time, remind everybody to catch up with us at Wookiees in the Woods, April 6th through 10th, and at S4 Race Wars, the 3rd weekend in September.
Yes. And if you want to follow Steven, you can follow Steven at S4 Race Wars on all social media. And you can follow, if you want to follow me, just follow Rowdy Audi on any and all social medias and YouTube. I make a lot of digital content. With that bombshell, and that was the wrong way to end the bombshell. There was no thing expectocious.
Look, I think we just slide on out and give our listeners' ears a rest, man. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll catch you next week.
Later, guys. We're outie. Peace. Do. Where's the off button on this thing?